All right, thank you guys for coming. So just to give you an opportunity, this will be about around an hour and a half, maybe not the whole time. So if you need a drink or a bathroom, now's your opportunity. So, and also.
We're sequestered, is that what you're saying?
And also give you opportunity, if this is not what you're thinking this is, so this is a workshop on how to create a men's ministry within your church or within your community. So if that's not what you're here for, Porn Sucks is downstairs, if you're looking for that. So, any questions right off the bat? So, Jason's, of course, when they have these events, they cut off the Wi-Fi here at church, so we have to tie into Jason's phone. So, bear with us just a minute. So while he's doing that, why don't I just open us up in prayer, and then we'll get started. So, Father God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for the sun shining outside, and I just thank you for every man that came through the doors today, who's here for one reason or another, whether they came here on their own free will, or they got the urging from a friend or a brother or a father to come. And Lord, just speak through us today. A lot of great speakers today, and just a lot of great material. Hopefully we can provide some insight into how Christ the Rock is helping the men of this church. Amen. Thank you, God, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Yeah. So,
glad you guys could come and join us. This is great.
So, just kind of a quick outline of what we're going to talk about today. So, basically, we're going to go through the structure of how we run our men's ministry here, just to give you an idea. But hopefully, we're going to have some time for some Q&A. But just to basically, are you ready or what?
No, it's great.
You're fine. No. Like whenever my wife and I go somewhere, it's like, she always has to sleep on the right side of the bed. It's the only time you ever get to sleep on the right side of the bed. So, but a little too much information there. So, so we're just going to go over our structure, and hopefully it's something that you can either bring back to your church or to your community, or for whatever reason that you're here. So we're going to go over the type of format that we do, our meeting structure, and our leadership, and then how we run that. So, but we just wanted to give a brief description about us and why we're doing this and why we're here. For me, growing up, I didn't have any male Christians in my life. My mom's a Christian, my dad was not. So I grew up my whole life not having any direction or of what a godly man was supposed to look like. And it was a struggle. I struggled with being passive. I have a speech impediment. So to get up here and to speak to a group of men is not the easiest thing to do when the number one fear of life for most everybody is public speaking. So it wasn't until my wife and I, as per my sin issues, nearly lost our marriage, that I got connected here at church. And it was through a man, Dean Roddy, if anybody knows Dean, who got me connected here at church, brought me here on a Saturday morning with a group of guys that was meeting here every Saturday, and just talking about their struggles. And it was the first time I told my story. I had never told, I didn't even know what my story was until the words started coming out of my mouth, So after getting connected and hearing that there was other guys out there that sucked as bad as me, and some that sucked worse, it was just, it helped me get in touch with what I needed to do in life and what God's purpose was for me. And once I started learning more about the man that God wanted me to be, it inspired me to want to help others to do the same. So that's when I got involved, I got connected, went through some great classes here at church that really got me in touch with men. And I said, I want to lead this one day. I want to find guys that were like me, that were stuck in the shadows of their, dominating wife, that had struggled with pornography, that, didn't know how to talk to them. So that's what brought me here today.
Yeah, and my story, I guess getting involved with Christ Love Rock and doing the men's ministry here has been awesome. The background that I had in getting into men's ministry starts at relatively young age. I was probably probably mid-20s, early 20s when I finally got into some men's ministry, and really had a passion to do that. A lot of the reasons and why it stems from is the influence that my father had had on my life, and how much he impacted me. And I thought, you know, what's really behind men's ministry? Is it so much changing the man, or is it more so the impact that the man has on all the people around him? So yeah, we change the man, but every man has influence. So that's what was my draw into men's ministry. So that journey took me on getting involved with our church. I'm in my 20s. I planned this event, going to Promise Keepers. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've got guys that are 40, 50, whatever, you know, and I'm the guy in charge. You know, so been there, growing pains through that. And then transitioning from there, getting involved with our church. And then I decided that it was important to start a men's ministry on my own that wasn't necessarily affiliated with a church. So I developed a ministry, a nonprofit called Impact Society. And the acronym for Impact Society was Influential Men Practicing All Christ Teachings. And I had a building that I acquired, and I used that building as a storefront. So I promoted this as an event that wasn't necessarily a church-affiliated event, or I should say ministry. It was more of something that we could use as a collaboration between churches, but mainly I work in the trades. I've been in the construction industry for 30 years, so I work with men. And I saw this great need within men that they would go to a place that maybe didn't have the threats of what a church has. A lot of guys go to church and they already have red flags, right? You know, it's too feminine. They have their laundry list. They have the things of their past. So that was what I was striving for with that. I did that for a few years, and our church that I was involved with disbanded. We did a move. It moved me away from where that building was, and then I started coming here to Christ the Rock because of some of the great classes and things that they have here. And I plugged in immediately, not thinking or knowing that I would have this opportunity with men's ministry here, but as God would have it, as things transition, it's what transpired. You know, when I started Impact Society, I remember having a prayer with God. Maybe He was talking to me, because it wasn't really what I wanted to hear. I remember thinking, as I'm a planner and a visionary, I remember thinking, oh Lord, I could do this, and I could do that, and I could do that, and then I'll have this. I'll have this end result, right? That's what we do as guys. We're progressive. And I remember God saying to me, not an audible voice, but as He speaks, what does it look like in 10 years if you're diligent? What does that progression look like in 10 years if you're diligent to what He called you to do as far as men's ministry or ministry? And it's close to the 10 years point from when I started that, and here I am. Yay. But there's great legacy in that. I've got a good amount that we'll tap into later on that storyline. But you know, the real influence of men's ministry, that the reason why I do it is not because I'm the greatest thing for men's ministry, it's because I need it. Men's ministry keeps me accountable. It calibrates me, it aligns me to the things that I should be doing. And as Clawford the Ritz spoke this morning, if you step out and you make that decision, and now you're in that wave of activity, it helps keep you accountable, it helps keep you motivated and moving to the right path. So that's just a brief outline for our stories. How about you guys? You're from a lot of different walks. Show of hands, can we just go around and say a bit? Maybe we got a smaller group. I think we could go around briefly, just say your interest and why you're in here, and maybe your church, and whether you're part of a men's ministry or you're looking to do a men's ministry within your church, or what is your interest? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Rick. I'm from Menominee Church of God.
Okay.
Very small church. Men's ministry is pretty much non-existent. I'd like to get something going. My pastor, I kind of got thrown into this. My pastor doesn't have a backup, so when he takes off, I get to do the sermon and all that stuff. And I like it, but now I wanna kinda go a little deeper and get a men's ministry going.
Good.
I don't have nowhere to go. This is
All right.
what I needed right here.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Now, I'll introduce the next guy that's sitting next to him. That's my dad.
Oh, something looks familiar.
Yeah, and he's actually, you know, making sure I'm doing a good job. He'll
There you go.
lay into me later. No, he really won't. My dad's a great man of God, and I'm honored to have him here today, so.
What can I say? I'm coming here to see my son really, and how God has just caused this man to grow. That's all I can say.
Tom, do you want
I'm Tom Gerke. I'm from Christ the Rock. I just came in to echo Jason and Dan. Now I'm getting. We recently moved here in October from Kiel, and which was another fantastic men's ministry thing. We needed help, and the men's group got together, and they just one Saturday morning they just brought my house cars and trailers and
Yeah.
had my wife just breaking down in tears, just the love of men's group that can show, you know, in a different way at church, and we just followed God's calling to come and move to the area, and I led the men's group in the church in Kiel, and was very involved with planning events, and just you know, so I'm just working on getting more involved here and seeing where
Good.
God leads.
All right, I'm Jerry. I'm also a member here at Christ the Rock and have been a sideline member of men's groups. Kind of go in and out, just kind of hang out there and don't do much. I also really know that it takes a lot for a man to step up to say, I want to go to a retreat, I want to go to whatever it is. You know, it just doesn't happen very natural. And so I think I've done my share of inviting people to those things and trying to get them involved. I just want to take that little bit farther.
The neat thing, I have this son in my group, so you're diligent with planting that seed with your son.
Right.
You know, I see you slip him that $5 every month. You know, he's in the group and he participates.
Oh, good.
Good work, too.
I'm the real Jerry.
Please stand up.
Yes. I attend a mission church downtown, relatively new church.
Come on in.
Um,
Oh, you doing pictures? Yeah,
And,
pictures, that's all. Sure.
There's no real men's ministry there at the moment. So I just thought I'd check into what you guys do and how you do it. Hope to take something back.
Awesome.
Have you been tasked to do that, or is this
I
something you're
have
doing on
not.
your own?
This is,
Something that you have.
this is just, yeah.
Okay, awesome, good. Yeah, go ahead.
Ben Studer from Hope Community Church in Shauna. We've dabbled, I guess is the word, in men's ministry. And various different people have attempted to do things and get things going. This has always been something we've tapped into. Conference here every year. Have a fair amount of people, you know, handful or so come every year, and seems to like, okay, let's get something going, and then kind of peters out, so to speak. And so we have some really great small groups in the church, but it never seems like we can pull men's groups together. I participated in a small group that got together early mornings last year, and we went through Every Man a Warrior study. And it was very inspiring, and I think everybody got out of it. And of course, I liked what you said, I needed it. And I think that's kind of where God's leading me a little bit about, oh, I think I need this. But again, I'm just looking for God's direction and what can we do to create something of sustainability at the whole community church.
What's the size of your church?
Well, it's growing. God bless us with growing. Attendance has been about 400 to 450 something now recently. I mean, we were just overly blessed with Christmas services of 1,000 people.
Nice.
I mean, so there's need there. We need to figure it out. God needs to help us figure it out. Okay.
Sure. I'm also from Hope. Piggyback pretty much everything's been said. The only other thing for me personally is, as the other part of this thing that is said about small group and practical tools, and I lead a small group, so I'm always trying to get that same leadership skill.
Right.
So basically, I'm always trying to add tools to my toolbox.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm from New Hope Lutheran Church. We're right over on American Drive by Pierce Manufacturing. That's similar to what Vince said. We don't have a specific, real strong men's ministry. We got a lot of small group participation.
And a great worship leader.
And a great worship leader. Yeah. So the person singing today, I get to listen to him every weekend. Actually, the Fire Front 3 are part of our band. I think the drummer from what I just heard is joining our team now as well too. So
What did you call them? The front three?
the front 3.
Oh, okay. Name of your band or something.
And so, in my past, I've actually been really engaged with our band, and I do all the technical, the audio stuff for them. So, but in our church, that men's ministry really isn't strong. And as I was going through this listing of what I'm going to do today, I was like, you know what, I was called to come to here. It's about the only thing I can say. I am part of a small little men's Bible study that we meet at 6 o'clock on a weekday morning, so it's bright and
Those are
early.
good times.
But, you know, I've been doing that for the last year and a half now. I get to listen to the Doom Man talk about the Bible, and that's been very inspirational as well too. And but just having that growth and that the development with just we get like 6 or 7 men that really come, and having that foundation is more important as well too. And like what Craig just said, my wife and I just took over our small group Bible study, and so now we're leading it, and we're new to that. So you know, whatever tools I can pick up that leads to all kinds of different types of leadership is.
We've got a really good video that's going to touch on that here in just a minute, so to see how good of a small group leader you are. We'll see if you're qualified.
From Right Now Media.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Right.
No.
My name is Jed, and I serve at Hope Community Church in Manitowoc.
I've visited that church.
We've
Oh,
recently
church.
picked up a great couple from your church, Jason and Kelly McCauley,
Oh.
or Mick Ollie, I think is their name. But I serve in adult ministries, and mostly with small group, but over the last couple of, about a year, we have a guy who's from Elmbrook with the no regret stuff, been pushing that. So we did a little experiment this summer. I invited about 70 guys to join one of 3 Bible studies going through the Humility book by C.J. Mahaney, and about 30 of them showed up, so that qualified them to be on the leadership team of our first event, where we did the 1-day stepping up event, using the manuals, and about 85 guys from our church came. You know, there was almost 100 registered, but anyways, so it was a great event, but I'm like, man, I can't do this again. That killed me. So he's like, well, why reinvent the wheel? Let's team up with No Regrets. So there's about 8 of us here spying on you guys. to
Good.
see, you guys do an awesome job. And we want to be a satellite
All right.
next year, and
Awesome.
just seeing how you guys facilitate it, move people through the rooms and all that good stuff. And really, I don't have a clue how to build a men's ministry team.
Good.
So,
Touch on that.
yeah, just that's why I'm here and I'm excited. So I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
Big
thank
time,
you.
thank you.
Awesome.
I am Steve Benz. I recently started going to the Hope Community Church in Manitowoc.
One of the recruits.
Yeah,
that's why
I'm smirking.
Is that camera on?
Yeah, well, this is recorded. Yeah. Everything you say can and will be used against you.
Yeah, it's kind of
He's got his phone sitting there with the camera sticking out. This is a little suspicious.
It's probably gonna get mad, I don't even, but how my wife and I ended up at Hope Church is not necessarily because that's where we wanted to go, but because it was convenient and.
Praise
and-
God.
And anyway, we decided to go there. We moved our tithe, and then we were blessed. My business was blessed with all of the sales after we did it, and it was like, well, okay, I guess the decision's made. And so it kind of, so it's kind
You
of
say so, God. Okay.
Darn, he did it to me again. So my what is it? Dan kind of brought up is I would like to figure out how to stop to get the kids from the 18 to say maybe the 24-year-olds, get that group involved. To stop this getting lost after high school when you leave your parents' house, have the issues that I went through with being thrown out to college and stuck with and not having any guidance to be able to do that. And how do you do that? If you look at everybody in here,
Right.
nobody. I mean, you're close. Okay, you're close. But look at the age group. Everybody here, where are they?
Right.
And he's
How
not saying
do you
anything
do-
about your age.
I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, how do I get my 19-year-old kid involved with church?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can't force it.
Yeah, and so I mean that's kind of where where I'm coming at. That's
Good. All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, we got some bad news for you.
We can't show the video?
No, yeah, we're so video driven, right? How could we survive without a video of the presentation, right? No, the problem is we don't have it all figured out. The problem is our ministry is a work in progress. But the thing of it is we're diligent. We've made plenty of mistakes. We've had some great ideas. I mean, we had KGB lined up. He's a great speaker. We've used him in the past for some things, so we were going to pull off this big event and have KGB, and it was going to be a Packer night. And as I was getting the vibe of as that was getting closer, pulled the plug, just because of attendance and engagement. And we'll touch on that, maybe some reasons why, but just that's an illustration to say we don't have it dialed in. We've got some things that are working well, so we'll be able to share those with you. But we're hoping that we can glean some insights from you guys too today. So if you got some things that you can bring, we're all ears when we get into our question time later.
Yeah, so, some things that we are doing right and things that we are doing well at are our small groups. We had a session with our guys not long ago where we were just like, we want to hear from you. What are we doing right and what are we not doing right? And the one thing, the consistent theme is that, these videos are great, these teachings are great, but what I really love about this is my time in my small group. I get to hear other men that suck as bad as I do, that are talking about their struggles. And, we as leaders, when we're leading these small groups, we're like, you know what? I sucked as a husband today. I didn't love my wife well. I sucked at work today. I was struggling with being on the internet and not doing what I was supposed to do. Guys are not really one to talk about their feelings. We're all guys. We know that's the last thing that we want to talk about. But deep down in our core, what God put in us is that we do want to talk to each other. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a group where, guys have never told their story before. Like I say, it was the first time when I came to that Saturday morning, I had no idea what was going to come out of my mouth. And, in the 5 years I've been doing this, I've heard some horrific stories. I'm like, how are you not on a tower with a rifle, you know, picking people off right now, because, you know, I mean, that was just terrible, but you're
We
here.
profile a lot of people that.
That's part of your small group, is trying to find those guys that, you know, are on
There's
that
another
edge,
serial
you know.
killer. How are we gonna help this guy?
Send them to Manitowoc. We want to be in the news again.
Right.
More coverage.
There's hope in Manitowoc, I'm telling you right now, so. But, you know, we're always trying new things. We're going on our 3rd season of us leading this ministry at our church. You know, this church has been here for over 30 years now. And it's been handed off, and now it's been handed off to us, and we're going into our 3rd season. Like Jason said, we're still trying to figure out things and what's gonna work best for our church, and what's gonna bring the men in our church and our community here, so. But just being consistent and being, perseverance is the word I'm thinking of. That was one of the other things the guy said, was like, you know what? I don't care how many people are coming here. If it's only 5 guys, I hope you guys are still gonna do this. Because us 5 guys, we need this. And it's like, you know, it was really hard for us to say that it's not about numbers. You know, Jesus poured everything he had into 12 people, and then it spread from there. So that's what we really had to turn our focus on, was, you know what? We'd like it to be about both numbers and about reaching men, but we're gonna reach the men that are gonna come here. We're gonna pour everything that we have into them, and we're gonna let them do the advertising for us. You go out and pull the rest of this church in here.
And Dan's referring to a time where we wanted to get a heartbeat of the guys, so we actually took one of the meetings just to survey the guys, and just in a candid talk like this, we said, okay, how are we doing? And it was actually surprising. I mean, guys were not too overly generous with compliments, right? You know, so you're like, okay, we just did that. I don't know. How did we do? Well, I don't know. Everybody came, but then they all left. And so to have that interaction, to have them talk with us, it was really good to hear some of the feedback. One little thing, so we developed a mission statement. That was one of our things that we built early on. I think I'll go into the stories to make it brief, but as we spent this time deciding, okay, what were we going to call our ministry? What was going to be our mission? What's our vision? What's our scripture? Right? We're going through all that. Good ideas don't die. So we were going to have our kickoff. And there was a gentleman on one of the nights that or days and a Sunday we were promoting. And one of the other men's leaders said, hey, you got to talk to this guy, Steve. He's got to tell you a story. He's got to tell you what he did. So I meet Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing? He's like, so this morning, okay, I'm getting ready for church. Put on my clothes, I'm all dressed, and it dawns on me, I'm thinking, where's that shirt? So he goes into his closet, he digs around, it's in a box, pulls out this old shirt. I'm wearing this to church today. Puts on his shirt. Mind you, this is our kickoff day for our new unveiling of our men's ministry. He shows up at church. He walks in and he sees our logo, he sees our banner, he sees us, got some flyers. He's wearing a shirt. Our men's ministry name is Men of the Rock. He's wearing a shirt from 20 years ago that says, Men of the Rock. You know? So good ideas don't die, but that was a good confirmation that, hey, we're on the right path. You know? So our mission statement, what do we want to do? What is our purpose? Keeping it very simple and having it parallel the mission of the church is to reach the lost, love the hurting, and disciple others to do the same. So reach the lost, love the hurting, be there for them, support them. Guys need that. And then disciple the other guys. Stick in there with them to do the same so they can reach the lost, love the hurting, disciple others to do the same.
Yeah, and so, you know, once you kind of get a theme of what you're going to do, now you need to start surveying what's your demographic of men. You know, what do you have in your church? What do you have in your community? You know, is it a bunch of, you know, old guys like us? Because that's going to gear what your studies are going to be like. You know, what's the purpose of your men's ministry? You know, is it to be closer with God? You know, do you need to have better marriages? Do you have a lot of guys struggling with marriages? You know, is it getting disconnected within your church, having a group of men that, you know, I can see Eric in church, and you know, I know Eric, I know his wife's name, I know his kid's name. You know, do you need that kind of connectivity? Or do you need all of it? Does your demographic cover all that? You know, because when you're in a church this size, it does cover all that, you know, and like you talked about, how do you reach those, you know, generation that, you know, was 20 years behind me? I don't know how to talk to, I can barely talk to my 21-year-old son or my daughter that says like every third word in every sentence that she uses. So it's talking, you know, Jason and I were just kind of joking that when we were spying on some young ministry last night, and I was like, that girl says like this, and like,
And then the other person was like, and the other one
it's
like.
gotta be
Start
that,
saying
it's gotta be
like,
that age
draw 'em
group,
in.
so.
Start saying like.
So now that you've know what your demographic is, and now what you know what your men's ministry is about, that's gonna start leading you into some next steps after that.
So, one of the models that actually Promise Keepers developed this, you guys, how many have been on the wave of Promise Keepers through the years? What a great ministry. It did a lot of spurring on men's ministries throughout the country. But one illustration that they brought up in those books that I remember reading years ago is the funnel system, right? So you have your large event. You have whatever that feeder event is to get guys, whether it's gonna be a steak night or we'd have a kickoff event, we'd have our senior pastor do it. So we try to create energy, synergy to get guys active. This is a great feeder event. So it's a model that works, and then as that boils down, you get your small hub of guys that will be diligent, stick with you. So that's a model you can do. It does work. There's good with that. Another model is actually, with that, you know, you can have comedy nights. Corn and pancakes was one that we did here, which was great success. I mean, corn and pancakes, you think a lot of guys are going to go, but it's really dealing with that thing that we all struggle with. At one way, shape, or form is that can be our sex life, and in particular how porn has influenced and affected that. Comedy night, car show, that's one thing that we're in the process of looking at developing. Hopefully we can do that as a feeder event.
Motor, get it? Motor.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're trying to tie in that theme of,
And
you know.
the girls are copying us, all right? So they want, well, you got it.
Yeah.
Instead of M-O-T-R, they want W-O-T-R. Nobody can spell in this church. What in the heck's going on? Motor. Voter and motor? Anyways, okay, we're not perfect. We're real. Let's keep it real. Yeah, so upside down funnel is actually starting the other way, where you're starting with a core of your 30.
Yeah.
And you're building that relationally. And whoever shows is whoever shows. And that's where you're relationally sticking in there and doing that model of relationship, being authentic, being real, can't stress that enough, meeting guys where they're at, not putting expectations on them other than what the Holy Spirit is going to convict them and what they're going to glean from some of the studies. I think they'll get that from just showing up, you know. So two model illustrations for you.
Yeah, and our biggest challenge within this ministry is trying to find material that's not practical, but it's also engaging. It produces real discussion. You know, our church has tapped into an awesome website and ministry. It's called Right Now Media. Has anybody heard of Right Now Media?
Our church uses it.
So there are thousands upon thousands of studies out there that we fell in love with, and the 33 series that's done by Robert Lewis, excellent series. And what's great about that one is it's 6 sessions, and it covers all topics from marriage to work to sex, you know, all kinds of lifestyles.
What was that again? I'm sorry. Which
The
one?
33 series.
Right now,
Yep.
Right
Yeah.
Right, if you go to www.rightnow.org.
Your church will pay for the subscription based on the size of the church. So for us, when we registered, they gave us the 500 to 550.
Yep.
Because it was the summer, so the numbers are down a little. So we paid $2,000 a year, and if 10,000 people get signed up under us, our price never goes up. So you can stream this right into your homes. Our kids watch all kinds of TV shows on it. It's awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, so
Jason's kind of
this-
showing you up.
This is right now, you get, I mean, resource after resource after resource. You go down here, scroll down to, there's marriage, there's women's, there's your men category, and you know, you can just scroll over, and they've got a lot of studies. Those do rotate, they do change. Up on the top, you have studies that, kind of their new studies, most recent content. And again, we've used all of the different studies for men's. We don't just stay in that men's category. We did one called Gods at War, which is really good. It deals with a lot of the hot topics.
The idols.
There's 5 different idols.
Kyle Idle, yeah,
Yeah.
also did the Not a Fan series,
Yep.
which we're thinking about doing next fall. So, Stepping Up, which we just got done with last Monday by Dennis Rainey. It's an
Mhm.
awesome study. And then the next one we're going to starting Monday is a Bible study with the Book of James that's led by Francis Chan. And what's great about this one is even though it's 12 sessions long, the videos are only 10 to 12 minutes. So we're going to double up and do 2 videos a night, just because we like that 6-week time frame, because it's a short commitment. Guys have been more committed to stay with a 6-week program. And that's kind of another thing that you can look at is, are you going to do it weekly? Are you going to do it every other week? Our guys like the every other week because it gives them a break. It gives them time to reflect on the material. And it also gives us the time to have time with those guys outside of our Mondays.
Yeah.
So,
Is there, when you order, or you said that the videos themselves stream off of that site?
Yep.
But then is there a hard, like, books, like you order?
Yep, there's
the
workbooks.
manuals?
We'll show you that in a minute here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's workbooks that you can order. You can download the handouts.
Yeah.
It just, I remember when I started Impact Society, the best I could do, I mean, there was GodTube or Bluefish. There was a few of them out there where you could download a few things. But otherwise, I was at the mercy of the bookstore.
Yeah.
And I would go there, and I was like, well, unless I buy this and spend the $80,
Right.
I can find out if I like it or not, you know? There wasn't that much media available back then, so in 10 years, it's escalated to the point where now a ton. So right now, media, I would say, is really instrumental and almost a necessity. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see as far as videos versus a non-video
Mhm.
study,
Yep.
engagement and stuff like that? What's your experiences?
Right.
Is it better with the video, not video, or does it just depend on the questions I have?
Yeah, I think there's 3 elements to having a good men's group. Is if it's video driven, I think it's great because a lot of times you have a professional that's communicating the content.
Yeah.
If you have somebody that's not a good speaker and all of a sudden they're gonna do it and it's a flop, it might not have the impact that you need. Secondly, what I like to do is make it real by have somebody do what I call a primer. So we'll have one of the people that are part of the lead team will go up and say, okay, this topic is whatever, and they'll do a little bit of relatable story or something that they're going to share in their small group just to make it personalized. And then the most important ingredient, of course, is the breakout into small groups. So we're always going into 6, sometimes 8. We're heavy in the beginning, but a lot of times the groups trickle down, and the nature of it is some of the groups get down to 2 or 3 guys, and then we'll combine and do things like that. But that's kind of the model that we're.
So you find that more successful than just doing without the video? If you have tried any of those?
I feel so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just that we're doing bi-weekly, so our meeting is rather long. So we're going from 6:30 till 8:30. Yeah.
The other element is where the video is very helpful is otherwise you try to ask somebody on staff to prepare another message, to do another thing. And, the hours that takes is.
Yeah, but I was talking about,
Yeah.
I absolutely understand that. But like a book series, like Every Man a Warrior is not video based, and that's what I was trying to do is,
Yeah.
you feel more success with the video than just a non-video type series. Right?
The average guy my heart is for the lay guy that's strapped. He's got all he can do to survive.
Okay.
The odds of him even picking up his book is slim to none. So the only thing he's relying on is this video that's gonna talk to him and the content he's gonna get from the small group that may spur him on to be diligent, do what Crawford Lewis says, and make a decision to read his Bible and read his material.
Okay.
But most guys, tapped out, strapped out, stressed out, finance.
Too busy.
Yep, you know.
That's
and
why,
s-
that's why I've noticed too over the several different small groups I've been involved with, that
Yep.
individuals don't want to read and prepare coming in. You're more likely to get them engaged if it's something that happens right then and there.
And, you know, I've got a little bent because my heart is for the guy that doesn't go to church. There's plenty that do that are practicing, but what's the psyche of the guy that doesn't? You know, having started Impact Society and having that heart, I carry that right into my church. What about, yeah, we got church guys here, but what about the not church guy? What about the guy that comes in the door and goes out? How do we get him in the men's group? That's my
And do you
heart.
find the 2 hours seems to be too long for that?
Oh, no.
kind- that
2
kind
hours
of-
seems to be not
I mean,
enough.
for that kind of,
We have got guys, I mean, we'll let an exit happen at 8:30, but some groups will,
Right.
mine have creeped up into 9, you know.
but it's an evening type of thing, so they
Yeah.
have some flexibility.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's some things that we toyed with, you know, we were doing a Saturday morning, here for the longest time, and, but we were still just getting a small amount of guys that were coming, because it was, you know, so we did some research, like with Appleton Alliance. They were doing the same thing, they had a Saturday ministry and realized their numbers were just going down, so they moved it to a Monday. And what they found out is guys are more willing to give up a couple hours at the end of their day versus giving up a weekend morning, you know, I gotta get up early, that's my time to sleep in. You know, I've heard all the excuses in the world, you know, but it's true to the fact that, you know, time is precious to some people, and, you know, that's where that research in your demographics is gonna help you as to, you know, what is the age group of your guys that are coming, what do they prefer? And, you know, that's when we do check-ins now and then with our group of guys that are coming week in and week out. Week in and week out, or, you know, what can we give you? What are we not giving you that you need? So it is a lot of trial and error, and, you know, like worship was a big thing with us. We tried doing worship, and it worked well, and then our next season we did it, and guys were like, you know, I would rather spend that time talking about the last study than singing 3 songs that I hardly know because I sound like crap anyways. So, you know, so, you know.
You know, with the Monday nights, we settled on Monday nights. The beauty of Monday nights is if you've got kids, most of their practices are Tuesday, games are Thursday, Friday. You know, the Wednesday, they have things going on with the church. Monday seemed to be a free night where guys could plug in. The nice thing is we had promotions Sunday, so it's fresh in the guy's head. Hey, it's tomorrow, you know. So Mondays seem to be the natural. And I think by the time announcement is Sunday, and it's going to be the Saturday group, you know, there's a lot of space in there.
Will this website allow you to download the videos?
No.
So you
No.
have to stream.
You could only stream
Plain
live.
stream,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's becoming, and, well, we're rural.
Yeah.
That's with rural internet.
You have to have an
If you don't have a good internet connection in your church and or a backup internet connection, and you plan something around this,
Yeah.
That's why we bought the video series, even though we could have streamed it.
Here's a quick
In our
video
area,
for
it's
you guys
a
to take.
And we've done that as well, so. Before you do that, Tom, you had something you wanted to say?
I was just gonna say to speak to the video thing also, I mean, I've found to it, I've seen and experienced that if you get someone new, like these new guys coming in, that if you have someone up there just preaching, it's so much more intimidating than just showing a video and that, so that's just what I've found.
Yeah, and to the point of a live presentation, not to discredit that, but the work that is involved, if somebody is committed to doing that and can communicate well and really relay a message, it can be as powerful or maybe more because it's personalized. But in this men's ministry movement, it's who do you muster up to do that? So
A lot of it too has to do with your budget and what you have, you know. A lot of these studies have some awesome workbooks that go along with it, but those workbooks are 10, 15, 20 bucks a
Next
piece.
up,
So-
King David.
Thanks for coming, King David.
Are you qualified to be a small
Qualifies
group?
you to be our next small group leader.
What was that word you used before my name?
King?
King, right. How many of those am I up against?
What strengths?
Plagues, pretty good with the staff. Can't decide who gets the last brownie? Cut it in two. Boom. Wisdom. Party lunch finds water. Desert survival skills. Weaknesses. Mountain climbing. Commandment retrieval. Does that look weak to you? And I can make a pretty mean goat sausage. Okay, I mean, maybe haircuts. Women. Whose isn't? So I lied. I said my wife was my sister. They were gonna kill me. Why are we even getting into this?
I'm just not sure we're comfortable with you in a leadership position.
Look, Jesus Christ himself called you Satan. He was trying to make a point. Get thee behind me, Satan. That was the exact quote. Sheba. I knew you were gonna go there. There was a rock to the back of the head. I really regret that it happened.
And that's when you slept with the maid?
My wife said she was fine with it.
Abraham,
What?
come on.
Okay, timeline. First I slept with his wife.
No. I didn't kill Christians.
Then I lied to him.
I was just watching people's coats.
Then I had him killed. Okay?
They killed Christians.
It's a long time ago.
Besides, that was a different guy. That was Saul.
You killed anyone? What? You got somebody give you beef? Huh? You do something, take care, where's the app? Yo, bring it, huh?
Didn't you deny Christ 3 times?
No.
No.
No. Yeah, I'm almost
And the
positive.
third one, no.
Well, I haven't killed anyone. Why would you even ask that question?
This is the guy.
Hold on, I mean, I do have some questions about my qualifications. I've never been to seminary.
Oh, you'll do fine.
I really don't have a whole lot of experience.
Do you love God?
Yeah,
Do you want to help people?
sure.
Do you have a harem?
No, I don't have a harem.
All right, we're good then. Thank you.
Let me think about this.
Oh, wait a second. Look who has them.
Tablets, get it?
Yeah.
Tablets.
Pretty good, huh? Little comic relief there. Like to throw that in the mix. So, a strong point with our church that I could say, yeah, this is definitely something that I think we're doing good at. And I think it's very unique to a church's culture, and especially to our culture as a church, is to have connection points through different classes. And we do that in a few ways. You know, we in our motor group, we have a meeting groups and we want accountability to happen in that. What is true accountability? Making it personal, relational, ethical, real. So how do you flush that out? How do you make that happen in those small groups where it's not just, okay, let's get together in a group, everybody say when you screwed up this week, right? Because that's the encouragement, right? So, okay, you screwed up and you screwed up. Okay, all 5 of us screwed up, so who's going to be the God person here and pray for everybody? Because we're all a mess. Well, that's not real, but the main thing is we are flawed. We do come scarred. We do have issues. And how do we get to a point where we as men want to expose that? One of the classes we have here is called Character Development. And the idea behind character development is to, you know, when I first heard the class, I'm thinking, oh, I'm a good character. I have no problem doing this. And I see it, one of my older pastor friends that actually worked here, I saw him at the grocery store. I said, hey, I'm going to take character development. And he's looking at me like, what are you so excited for? You know? And I'm like, well, what did you think of it? He's like, and I'll never forget his words. He's like, kind of quiet a little bit. He's like, well, if you like your insides filleted open for everybody to see it, you know, what a great illustration, right? Hey, here I am. But the idea and the format of that group, and our church has spent 30 years developing that with a lot of different counseling and teaching that they brought in to really refine this. And it's an 8-month course. It's co-ed. You really get into your story, understanding your story. What are areas of shame that you carry? What are areas that you camouflage from everybody that could be it hid behind religion, it could be hid behind sin, it could be hid behind business. There's a lot of things that skin that we lay over to shelter us from things that fear us. You know, when we have that feeling that we hate to feel, where does that feeling come from? And those are things that can happen in any group, but to have that happen in a men's group really can create some bond. So to get guys to open up those little areas and really be transparent and say, you know, I really am struggling with whatever it is, you know, and what are their scars from their past? If we look at statistics, there's molestations, there's homosexuality, there's drug abuse, there's beatings, there's kids that were bullied. All of that factors into who they are as a man. You know, I always think of, you know, a kid will say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to him. And our heart bleeds and we have compassion for them, right? And we say we want to rescue that kid, we want to help that kid. Then all of a sudden that kid becomes 18. And what do we say? Man up. What's wrong with you?
Rub
You
some
need to be
dirt on it.
strong.
Yeah.
And then he's 20. And then he's 25 and he's married and he's trying to be a dad and he's still suffering from all that stuff. Never had support, never had anybody see what is really going on inside. So accountability, character development, we have freedom fighters, which is direct hit towards pornography, that area of sexual sin. Not necessarily pornography, but sexual sin. You get to sit on the hot seat. I went through the lay counseling program here at the church, so one of the things that I had to do was take in a class and be a student of it, and also go in and work as a teacher with it. And I chose to do freedom fighters, and I went on the hot seat. I had to tell my story of how pornography has impacted and influenced me, because that is part of my story, and how that had created shame in our relationship with my wife and I, you know. So you dabble in, you expose that, but the more you expose it, the shame element dissipates, because God wants us to, you know, I was raised Catholic. What did we have in the Catholic Church? Confession. Remember the confession? Now we're like, I'm good, you're good, let's go eat a brat together, you know what I mean, or have a beer, or whatever. You know, we hide a lot of stuff. So journey groups 1 and 2, he's got a little more into it than I. He's a veteran of journey 2.
Yeah, so
I couldn't go there. I got to journey 1, and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to talk about my story. I just want to lick my wounds for a little while here.
So we talked about character development kind of exposes you and take that out. Journey takes you one step forward or beyond that, and now takes everything out and sets it out. And now you have to talk about each one of those things that's within you,
Yeah.
and that makes you what you are. But you know,
So having that it is a benefit for our church. It can help accelerate. So we can have small groups, and guys get it. If there's a couple guys that went into character development, they get into a small group and they know it's going to be an opportunity where we're gonna be transparent. And the ideal isn't that everybody's counseling everybody. It's that we're letting it out there. Hey, here's my bond. Here's what I did this weekend. Here's the shame that I'm carrying because of an act, a sinful act. And to let that out there and just to be real as guys. And then, yep, there's some support. Maybe one of the guys later in the week is going to say, man, your story really touched me. Send him a text. I'm praying for you. I know you're wrestling right now. So you get some of that happens. Dan and I have known each other 2 years. We haven't been in a lot of groups. We're still trying to figure each other's story out a little bit. You know, we haven't gone real deep. Some other guys I'm a little deeper with because I've had more interactions. So those small group contacts can really accelerate that bond, which is the funnel growing up the other way, where you're getting that real tight relationships. And I think that's one thing that I would highlight. Go ahead.
I'm trying to catch up with you though, because I don't know what men's ministry really looks like perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying now you've done, or, because you're talking about all these different small group things, I'm thinking. So
Yeah.
in order for me to have a men's ministry started in my church, I have to all these small groups to pick from first before I
Not
can get
necessarily, but I'm just saying.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
How do we take a grassroots,
Right.
teach me how to take a grassroots thing
Sure.
and get to the point you're at.
Yeah. So those are benefits that we have. So for you guys to develop groups that are, I guess, zeroing in on the needs that men have and not denying that. So whatever study it is, that you take that to a deeper level And it starts with the leader. It starts with who's ever the head for that group to say, hey, I'm stepping out. One of our studies was stepping up. And that went through a whole process of how you were raised and how you were influenced by your father. So for that man to take the lead and say, hey, this is how my dad's wounds affected me. It isn't going to sin right away. That can come. But it's going to all those emotions that we struggle with. If we don't acknowledge those in the small groups, I don't think we're going to really penetrate the skin and get deep. So granted, we have that as a Cadillac and luxury in our back pocket in our church. And it's for you to start that in yours, maybe not so. You know, that's a long, we got 30 years of history doing it. And that's what brought me to the church to begin with. I want to get plugged into some of that because I was part of a small church and it was like, hey, you want to do that? Great. Go ahead and lead it, right? Because you don't have that. We've got a lot of staff and things to do that benefit of a bigger church.
And what's great about all those classes is it's not Christ the Rock specific. We've had people come from Rhinelander to come to some of these classes because we're the only church in the area that does that kind of stuff. So that's out there for you guys as well, that if you don't have those type of things, call our church. If you want to go through character development and find out what that's like and have something, bring that back to your church, awesome. If you want to come to our Monday night ministry and see how we do things, I don't care where you're coming from. You're a man just like me. You know, we're both looking for God. It doesn't matter what church I go to or what my, church is not a street address. It's community. So,
we have a freedom fighters, celebrate recovery, people that are dealing with addictions. We have that here. When I went through that class, visited, I should say, it was surprising to me the amount of people that were from other churches that wanted to bring it to their church, and they came and sought out our model. So but the ultimate goal is to go beneath the surface, allowing men to bond on a deeper level, creating transparent relationships for those who reveal their true story, and most importantly, what are the redemptive qualities of that? Yeah. Go ahead.
Jason, just from a smaller church standpoint, I think when you start with a smaller group, a smaller church, I think it's real important to find the vulnerable leader that can be real and I'm a very open person, so when the leader is open, it opens everybody else up, and they're not, because our small group started out in my home. We had 5 guys grew to 10, we had 15, then we broke off into another home type men's groups. We had 2 of them going in our area, and then we would get together and start to get together both groups of church.
Yeah.
So it grew up from that.
Yeah.
So that was, and then you could, I found that, when God laid it on my heart during the week, pick up your phone, text someone, call them, say, hey, how's it going? Because afterwards you know each other's stories from that small group type thing. So then you could call them and say, yeah, I was thinking about you, how's it going? And that would for sure get them back.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking, I come from a smaller church, and you don't have to do something 12 months of the year to get it started. It can be 9 months, whatever. But and so it just builds, but what I'm really encouraged about is hearing how you guys give people opportunities to continue to grow. And, that's been a difficult thing for me, to give people opportunities to grow, because sometimes, it can be hard as a pastor to let go of control. And, when you get around, and I'm being totally serious here, when you get around guys like Steve who are really smart, it can be really threatening. And, he brings a whole new element. And this other guy who comes from Ellenbrook, who's a lawyer, they bring they bring different gifts, and I don't know what to do with some of that sometimes. And my natural response can be like, well, hold on, we're going to go at my pace here. And seeing how you guys do a good job of letting people grow into roles is encouraging to me, because that's not natural for me, but I've reaped the benefit of that.
Welcome.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that here just
That's
a minute
chess.
too. Oh, that's the other spine, so.
Yeah.
He
Another
must
one.
have been the one with the microphone.
This
so-
is the guy from Elmbrook who's
Yeah.
really helping.
Good deal, awesome. So getting into some more meat of what this looks like. So looking at the timeline of your night, whatever that looks like, minimum hour and a half to 2 hours at the minimum. You can go longer than that, but when you start to talk about your material and how many guys that you have, and that's going to play a key factor as well. You know, your small groups, like Jason said, shouldn't be more than 5 or 6 or 7. Because once you start to get to that small group time, but even prior to that, you know, we kind of touched on this, but you want to have an intro, you know, a time where you can share announcements, what's coming up, how's everybody doing, if you choose to have worship or not. Like I say, we keep going back and forth with worship. You know, we had live worship, and then our live worship leader had some issues and he couldn't do it anymore. So then we started doing YouTube videos, and that turned out to suck. We guys like, I don't want to do YouTube videos. I mean, so then the next year we went without it. And then we kind of got back into it again, you know, just to see, you know, and then again, halfway through this year, we had to stop doing worship because our worship leader found a job in Texas and he left. So, girl, yeah. I don't know if the girl came for the job or the job came, so, but regardless of that. So, and then Jason also touched on doing a primer, having somebody get up there and personally talk about either last week's video or what you're about to see, or what you're about to study, just to get that personal touch in there. And also a time for prayer. You know, make sure that you're always starting your groups with prayer. Something that most men struggle with is prayer life. So being in an environment where you can see guys praying for somebody that maybe never done it before is going to be huge in their life. And then have your presentation, whether it's a video or whether you have some guy up there doing a teaching. You want that to be, you know, 15 to 30 minutes. Not too long, but long enough to keep guys engaged, but not too long that you're kind of, oh God, when is this going to end? I just want to get to my small group time. And then your small group time, quite honestly, needs to be the beef of your time. So we generally have ours at about an hour. And you think, my God, an hour, that's a long time to talk. But if you've got 6 guys in there, that's 10 minutes apiece. And most of the time, I say in this last study that we did, we had 5 or 6 questions, the small group questions that we do. 99% of the time, I don't think we ever got past the second or third question, just because we had just some great dialogue, and it went on some rabbit trails, and then we got into some guy's story that was just really struggling, and so it just led to some great stuff. But you know, that's the value that you're going to see within that.
And having some training for those small groups leaders, you know, and screening them just like they did up here. But no, having some training. They're on Right Now Media. There are a lot of resources for you to train your small group leaders. So they get it. So they get the idea of letting the other participants in the group have their say. And there may be a guy that that won't go at all. I had one guy that I was counseling, and I invited him to group, and he's like, "You guys have small groups?" I'm like, "Yeah." "I'm not going." You know, he wasn't there. I'm like, "Well, why don't you just come and take in the video?" "No, I'll feel bad because you guys want to do small groups." But I'm like, "No, come and do the video. You can exit and not do a small group." Where's he at? You know, if he comes and gets the video, at least he's cracking the door. You know? And then if a guy is in the group and maybe he's not saying anything, let the Holy Spirit work on him and draw on. There might be another guy that he bonds with, and maybe those two develop a relationship where they can connect and go for breakfast and ally together in this journey. You know, some of the stats. So, a great resource is Why Men Hate Going to Church. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. And they tap into some of the things that the church does that guys don't get or do well. And it goes into like the history of church and wearing ties and the flower arrangements and the cathedrals and all that stuff. You look at, they did some surveys with that, and the statistics show that some of the influences, the songs that are played in worship, better to have a good worship that's done well than a poor worship that guys don't relate to, and they're walking away going, "I don't ever want to do that again." You know? Okay, guys, let's all stand up, hold hands, and sing a worship song together. Yeah, you know, a lot of them just checked out, right? Just because of some of that might create some feelings. And so we try to avoid that, not to say that that can't be relevant. So why men hate going to church, there's a couple stats on there. And then the mega church versus the small church, you would say, well, maybe the mega church is not the way to go because there is an opportunity to connect. But they do actually have some research that backs up that the mega church is more men do participate in that. Maybe because they can hide, I don't know, right? You can come in and go out. But, you know, the older, smaller churches, sometimes you have a feminine-driven church. Most of the people that participate in the church are the women that'll take on making the bulletin. You know, they're going to run a lot of the classes, etc. The worship songs are more of "I love you, Jesus" versus "A mighty fortress is our God," right? So those are things that guys can relate to. So having worship would mean having strong male worship songs that guys can identify with and create some synergy within that meeting structure.
Yeah, so just kind of looking at our time. So we handed out these stats, so we're just going to touch on a couple of them, but you can just read them on your own, but a lot of great stats just on men and why men hate going to church.
Mm-hmm.
But we really have some more stuff that we kind of want to get out before our time ends up here, and then also to give you guys some time for question and answers. So who's equipped to lead a men's ministry? You know, that video kind of touched on it in a funny way. The number one requirement, you guys all have it. You're guys, okay? You don't want a woman up there leading your men's ministry, right? Because how is she going to relate? She doesn't relate. But there really is no experience required. You know, I came into this having no experience. You know, but that also kind of depends on what your leadership style is. Are you a born leader? You know, I was not. You know, I was afraid to get up there to talk to people. I didn't know how to talk to people. You know, I didn't even know my own story. So, you know, I had to take classes and learn about myself and see other leaders and how they were doing it before I could get up there and do it myself. And I still struggle. It's still a work in progress for me and probably always will be. But that's something that you need to look at, and especially when you're building your lead team. You need to understand what their relational styles and what their lead styles and where are their gifts and where are they gifted.
Yeah, so balancing it all. You got work, you got family, now you're going to start a ministry. Where are you going to get time to do that? So you're married, case in point would be, I had Impact Society, I was doing a Monday morning event, I had a Wednesday evening event, a lot of times Saturday morning. So I had 3 nights, actually it was Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, Saturday. So bottom line, I had a lot going on, plus a general contractor, got employees, I'm a father of 4, so I'm busy. And I remember getting done with all that, and we were transitioning, and my wife and I were having a discussion. Right? And that discussion, you know, I was defending myself. I'm a good guy. I do all this, I do that. And she's like, yeah, but you were gone a lot. So to be cautioned on the ministry mistress is what I call it. Yeah, it's great to sign up. When I was going to get involved with Promise Keepers years ago, I called this guy and, you know, I was going to be an ambassador. And I remember he said to me on the phone, he's like, we get a lot of calls from you guys that are younger that have, you know, energy and want to do this. But how are you going to find the time? I remember when he said that. He says, you know, there's a lot required, and how are you going to fit that in? So we can say all this great stuff, and we have a lot of energy to go back, but the gist of it is that don't forget the main thing, right? If you're family and you're not connected at home and you can't do that well, then what's the sense of doing men's ministry if it forsakes the other responsibilities, which is your wife, your kids, the things that God already ordained you to lead well in, you know? So I want to touch on that. Go ahead. I'm saying too many stories. Go ahead.
So, you know, like he said, saying yes to serve, but know what your limits are. You know, don't try to do this yourself. You know, there's been men in this church who have taken on the burden of leading ministries and have suffered the wrath of that. It can consume you. I'm battling that right now. I can tell you I'm in 5 different ministries right now. And it's something I've, had a conversation with my wife just the other night about. I've had 7 different people come to me and say, well, what don't you do, Dan? So it's, I really need to have that focus of what does God really want me to do? This ministry is what brought me out of my rut, and this is where I really feel led. So I need to have discussions with God about all these other things that I've also tacked on. Because I'm a person that wants to feel needed. And that's my idol. And I have a hard time saying no, because that's somebody choosing me. Nobody chose me my whole life. So that speaks into my story. So, but God can use you. He can use your story. I mean, look at what he used David and Paul. I mean, Paul, probably the greatest